What if I told you that the weakest entry on this list is a suit of armor designed to punch a god in the face, and it only gets more insane from there? We're climbing the entire Marvel power ladder, from brilliant human engineering all the way up to characters who arguably surpass the supreme being of the multiverse. 8 characters, 8 absolute peak versions, ranked from the bottom of the cosmic food chain to the very top. Iron Man, Godbuster armor. Let's start with a fact that tells you everything about the scale of this video. Even at his absolute peak, his most powerful, most ambitious, most dangerous, Iron Man, is the weakest entry on this list. That's not an insult. That's the measuring stick for everything that follows. The Godbuster armor is officially cataloged as Iron Man Armor Model 63. It first appeared in Tony Stark, Iron Man issue 10, and was named explicitly in issue 19. And that name, Godbuster, is doing a lot of heavy lifting because it's basically the thesis statement of Iron Man's entire character compressed into a single word. This is a man living in a universe of Phoenix forces and cosmic cubes and literal abstract gods, and his answer to all of it is, I'll just build something. He doesn't seek out mystic training. He doesn't bond with a cosmic entity. He sits down at a workbench and engineers a suit designed to fight a god, and not just any god. The Godbuster was built specifically to confront a godlike AI entity that had constructed and was controlling its own reality. So the suit doesn't just fire repulsor barrages. It can interface with and project power into virtual and digital planes. Its architecture allows Stark to impose his will on realms one step removed from physical reality. He's not just punching a god. He's entering a god's domain, a constructed universe, and fighting it on its own terms using nothing but technology and human willpower. That's what makes this armor unique. It's not just bigger guns or better nanites. It's a machine that lets a human being walk into a space where reality is being authored by something else and rewrite the rules. Now, here's the important caveat, and it's why the Godbuster sits at the bottom of our list. Despite that god-fighting ambition, it doesn't exhibit the kind of large-scale reality warping we're about to see from other characters. It's not rewriting timelines. It's not altering universal constants. It's an extraordinary piece of engineering that punches way above its weight class, but it's still engineering. And that's exactly what makes it the perfect place to start. Because Iron Man's ceiling, a suit literally named after killing gods, is the floor for the power levels we're about to walk through. If a human genius building a god-killing machine is the baseline, imagine what happens when we start talking about characters who don't just fight gods. They become them. Speaking of which, what happens when the symbol of everything good about humanity gets rewritten into something monstrous, and hands that once held a shield now hold a cosmic cube? Captain America, Hydra Supreme. Most people hear evil Captain America and immediately think brainwashing, mind control, some kind of psychic parasite making Steve do bad things against his will, and honestly, that would be easier to swallow. But Hydra Supreme is something far worse. This isn't a Steve Rogers who was corrupted. This is a Steve Rogers whose entire reality was rewritten so that he was never good in the first place. Here's what happened. The Red Skull got his hands on Kobik, a sentient cosmic cube that had taken the form of a child, a literal child with the power to reshape reality on a fundamental level. Skull tells Kobik to turn Captain America into the best version of himself. And because Kobik is essentially a toddler being manipulated by a fascist, she interprets that as making Steve a lifelong Hydra loyalist. Not from this point forward, always. His entire history, rewritten. Every heroic moment, every sacrifice, every friendship, all of it recontextualized as deep cover for Hydra. That's the part that makes this genuinely disturbing. It's not a guy fighting against his programming. It's a guy who believes, with every fiber of his being, that he's doing the right thing because reality itself agrees with him. And the power that comes with this? It's not subtle. During the 2017 Secret Empire event, a 10-issue miniseries by Nick Spencer, Hydra Supreme, Steve uses fragments of the cosmic cube to reshape the entire United States. Hydra takes over the government. Superhero teams are neutralized or trapped. The Marvel status quo gets completely overwritten. We're talking large-scale geopolitical and infrastructural changes, all stemming from one man's access to a reality-warping child who thinks she's helping. He's designated as Earth 61311, by the way, not a mind-controlled variant, a distinct version of Steve Rogers. Marvel went out of their way to make that distinction, which is, not reassuring. But here's the thing. His power has a ceiling, and that ceiling has a name, Kobik. She's not a battery he can drain. She's not a weapon he can aim. She's a sentient being with her own agency, her own feelings, and her own capacity to change her mind. His entire empire is built on the cooperation of a child who doesn't fully understand what she's doing. The moment other heroes reach Kobik, the moment she decides this isn't what she wants anymore, the whole thing collapses. So yes, Hydra Supreme rewrote American reality and neutralized Earth's mightiest heroes. That's terrifying. But his power is fundamentally borrowed, mediated through an entity that can take it back at any moment. He's a dictator whose nuclear arsenal has feelings and might get sad one day, which is exactly why he ranks below characters who host primordial cosmic forces directly. Speaking of which, let's talk about what happens when Spider-Man stops being a friendly neighborhood anything and becomes an avatar of life itself. Spider-Man. Cosmic Spider-Man. Peter Parker is a hero defined by guilt and local responsibility. He swings between boroughs, saves bodega owners, worries about rent. So what happens when the universe decides that guy, that specific guy, needs to perceive subatomic structures and sense threats across cosmic distances? It starts with an experiment gone wrong at Empire State University. A laboratory mishap causes something called the Unipower to bond with Peter Parker, transforming him into an avatar of Captain Universe. And to understand why that matters, you need to understand what's behind it. The Enigma Force is a god of light, created by the Celestials themselves to oppose Null, the god of darkness. That's the pedigree we're talking about. Celestial-forged, anti-Null weaponry. The Unipower is only one facet of the Enigma Force, but even that single facet turns its host into something extraordinary. Captain Universe, a protector of eternity and an avatar of life itself. Now give that to Spider-Man. Cosmic Spider-Man gains flight, massively enhanced strength far beyond his usual proportional spider powers, and the ability to mentally control his webbing, making it an extension of pure will rather than a mechanical fluid. He can manipulate matter at a particle level, shooting energy beams from his hands. And then there's Univision, a cosmic awareness that lets him sense things on a subatomic level, or detect threats at vast interstellar distances. Peter Parker, the guy who couldn't pay rent last Tuesday, suddenly perceiving the quantum architecture of reality. Here's the crucial detail that makes this work narratively. The Unipower doesn't choose cosmic beings or gods. It specifically seeks out grounded individuals, people whose moral compass can be trusted. It empowers them for a specific crisis, then leaves once the peril is surmounted. The power is mission-bound. Peter doesn't get to keep it. He briefly sees the universe from the perspective of an avatar of life, then has to go back to being a neighborhood hero who can't catch a break. That's the tragedy of transcendence. His axiom? With great power comes great responsibility. Gets tested at a scale Uncle Ben never could have imagined. And Peter rises to it, because of course he does. That's why the Unipower chose him. Now, a common misconception in power scaling circles is that Cosmic Spider-Man equals the full Enigma Force. He doesn't. The Unipower is one facet of something far larger. Peter is a temporary vessel with a defined mission scope. He's wielding a fraction of a celestial created god of light, not the whole thing. But even that fraction puts him in a weight class where he's swatting aside threats that would normally require entire superhero teams. The emotional resonance is what elevates this beyond a simple power upgrade. Peter briefly transcends everything that limits him, and then he has to come back down. He has to return to a world where the problems are smaller, but no less real to the people living them. Speaking of heroes whose core identity gets radically transformed by cosmic fire, Wolverine's encounter with the Phoenix Force takes that concept and burns it down to the bone. Wolverine, Phoenix, Wolverine. Logan has always been defined by one thing above all else. He survives. You can burn him, drown him, rip the adamantium from his bones, and he gets back up. So what happens when the universe decides to pair that unkillable stubbornness with the single most powerful force of death and rebirth in all of Marvel Comics? You get Old Man Phoenix. James Howlett of Earth 18412 dies, presumably during Loki's genocide of that timeline, and rather than staying dead, he's chosen as the new host of the Phoenix Force. Not Jean Grey, not Hope Summers, Wolverine. And when you understand what the Phoenix actually is, and what Logan actually is, you realize this might be the most psychologically perfect pairing in cosmic Marvel history. The Phoenix Force is an entity built around a cycle, destruction followed by rebirth. Death is a doorway, not an ending. And Logan has been walking through that doorway his entire existence. Every war, every experiment, every betrayal, he dies in some fundamental way, and then he comes back harder. The Phoenix didn't choose a host who would struggle with the weight of cosmic annihilation. It chose the one person in the multiverse who was already comfortable with it, and the power output reflects that comfort. Phoenix Wolverine destroys black holes. Let that land for a second. Black holes, gravitational endpoints so extreme that light itself cannot escape them, and Logan burns through them with cosmic fire. That's not a planetary threat. That's not even a stellar threat. That's manipulating the fabric of spacetime at its most extreme compression point. He battles on equal footing with King Thor, a version of Thor who has ruled Asgard for countless eons, and accumulated power beyond anything his present-day self can imagine. When your sparring partner is a being who's had millennia to grow into godhood, and you're matching it, blow for blow, you're operating at a tier where universal survival is what's actually at stake in your fights. And death barely registers. The Phoenix Force already resurrects its hosts as part of its fundamental nature. Combine that with Logan's healing factor, the one that's already brought him back from a single surviving cell, and you get something approaching absolute immortality. Not just hard to kill, functionally impossible to keep dead. But here's what makes Phoenix Wolverine genuinely fascinating rather than just powerful. He doesn't change. Other Phoenix hosts, Jean Grey most famously, are consumed by moral terror at what they've become. They agonize over the responsibility. Logan doesn't. He's still feral, still scarred, still carrying centuries of trauma and grudges. He wields cosmic fire with the same attitude he's always had. Do what needs doing, take the pain, and keep moving forward. That contrast between the majestic, serene enormity of the Phoenix and the gritty, personal, violence-scarred personality of Wolverine creates something unlike any other cosmic entity in Marvel. A god-level being who fights like he's still got something personal to prove. Now, if Phoenix Wolverine represents cosmic power wielded through raw survival instinct, our next entry shows us what happens when cosmic power is wielded through forbidden knowledge and impossible sacrifice. Doctor Strange, Black Priest. Doctor Strange has held a lot of titles. Sorcerer Supreme, Master of the Mystic Arts, Defender. But during Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out storyline, he earns a new one that redefines everything we think we know about him. The Eye, the leader of the Black Priests. And what the Black Priests do is annihilate entire universes. Here's the context. The Marvel multiverse is dying. Incursions are causing universes to collide and destroy each other, and there is no clean solution. The Illuminati, that secret cabal of Marvel's smartest heroes, have already been exposed for their attempts to manage the crisis. And Strange, faced with the scope of what's happening, makes a choice that no Sorcerer Supreme should ever make. He joins the Black Priests and rises to lead them. The Black Priests are one of the most genuinely unsettling power systems Marvel has ever created. They don't cast spells in any traditional sense. They wield words, fragments of language that, when spoken, cause portions of reality to simply stop existing. Not explosions, not energy blasts, language that unmakes what is. Imagine someone opening their mouth and a section of the universe just ceases. That's what Strange now commands. That's what he becomes fluent in. As the Eye, Strange travels from dying universe to dying universe during incursions, and he destroys worlds. Deliberately, systematically. The logic is cosmic triage. If two universes are colliding and both will die, destroying one saves the other. Excise the limb to save the body. But the body here is reality itself, and the limbs are entire universes full of billions of living beings who never asked to be sacrificed. This is what makes Black Priest Strange so haunting. His power isn't the draw, it's his complicity. This is a man who swore to defend reality, and he's now participating in its controlled demolition. Every universe he erases presumably contains its own heroes, its own innocence, its own version of someone fighting to survive. And Strange speaks the word that ends all of it. The philosophical question at the center of this arc is devastating. When does cosmic scale surgery become indistinguishable from genocide? Strange would argue he's saving something, preserving some fragment of existence against total annihilation. But from the perspective of every universe he destroys, he's the apocalypse walking through their door. There's no moral framework that cleanly justifies what he's doing. He knows that. He does it anyway. This isn't traditional power escalation. Strange doesn't get a bigger energy blast or a shinier artifact. He gains access to a ritual system designed for one purpose, ending realities in an orderly fashion, and he becomes its most effective practitioner. His reality warping here isn't creative. It's purely destructive, purely final. And this phase of Strange's journey feeds directly into the 2015 Secret Wars event, where the multiverse finally collapses entirely, and Battleworld rises from the wreckage. Strange stands at the center of Marvel's biggest multiversal crisis, not as a savior, but as someone who helped manage the dying. Now, if Strange's power comes from forbidden knowledge and terrible sacrifice, the next character takes that concept and roots it in something even older, something mythic, something carved into the world tree itself. himself. Thor, Rune King, Thor. Every other character on this list picks something up. A suit, a symbiote, a cosmic force that chooses them. Thor doesn't pick anything up. He hangs himself on a tree and dares the universe to break him before it teaches him. Rune King Thor comes from the Ragnarok arc in Thor issues 80 through 85, right in the middle of Avengers Disassembled. And what happens in those pages is unlike anything else in Marvel Comics. Thor, facing the end of everything as Guardian, does what his father Odin did in the original Norse myths. He hangs himself on Yggdrasil, the world tree, the axis that holds the 9 realms together, and he sacrifices himself to himself, not to gain a weapon, not to unlock some hidden power source, to gain knowledge, to force reality to show him how it actually works. And that's exactly what happens. After his ordeal on the world tree, Thor doesn't just come back stronger, he comes back different. He can perceive past, present, and future simultaneously. He understands the fundamental mechanics of existence, the threads that hold fate together, the architecture underneath everything the gods have ever known. He doesn't just surpass Odin, he makes Odin's level of power look like a starting point. But here's what makes Rune King Thor genuinely terrifying. His reality warping isn't destructive, it's structural. His defining feat isn't blowing up a planet or punching through a dimension. It's breaking the cycle of Ragnarok itself. For as long as Asgard has existed in Marvel continuity, the gods have been trapped in an endless loop. They rise, they fall, Ragnarok destroys everything, and they're reborn to do it all over again. A metaphysical prison disguised as destiny. And Rune King Thor looks at that cycle, understands it completely, and says no. He doesn't just survive Ragnarok, he unmakes the concept. He rewrites the cosmic order that an entire pantheon has existed under since the beginning of time. That is not punching harder. That is rewriting fate. And the source of that power matters for understanding why fans hold this version of Thor in such reverence. He doesn't bond with a cosmic entity. He doesn't wield an artifact. His power comes from sacrifice and enlightenment, from choosing to suffer, choosing to hang on that tree until the universe surrendered its secrets. There's something ancient about that. The Norse myths told this same story 1,000 years ago, that wisdom costs everything, and the price is paid in flesh and sanity and time spent in the dark. Marvel transplanted that idea directly into their cosmology, and it works because it feels earned in a way that almost nothing else in superhero comics does. Fan communities have spent years debating where Rune King Thor sits on the power scale, and the consensus tends toward beyond Omega level. Some argue he surpasses not just every other Avenger, but most cosmic beings in Marvel's hierarchy. That's debatable, but what isn't debatable is that his power operates on a fundamentally different axis than raw strength or energy output. He doesn't fight reality, he understands it. And understanding, in this case, is the most dangerous weapon in the Marvel universe. Thor earned his godhood through suffering, but the next character on our list didn't earn anything. His power comes from something far older, far darker, a force that's been hiding at the bottom of the Marvel universe this entire time, wearing Bruce Banner's rage like a mask. Hulk, the one below all. Most people think the Hulk's most powerful form is World Breaker Hulk, or maybe the version that punched through time, but those versions are child's play compared to what the Immortal Hulk era revealed about Bruce Banner's condition. Because it turns out, Hulk's rage isn't just psychological, it's cosmological, and his immortality isn't a gift, it's a leash. Here's the setup. In Marvel's cosmology, there's a being called the One Above All, supreme ruler of the entire multiverse, the ultimate god figure, capital G, created everything, oversees everything. But like any good theological nightmare, this supreme being has a shadow self, and that shadow is called the One Below All. The One Below All isn't a separate entity. It is the One Above All, just the part that wants everything to end, the cosmic hunger that sits at the bottom of all existence, waiting. And its domain? A place called the Below Place, the absolute lowest layer of the multiverse, below hell, below every demon dimension, below everything, the basement of reality itself. And something lives down there that wants to eat everything above it. Now here's where Bruce Banner comes in. The Below Place connects to our reality through something called the Green Door. It's a metaphysical barrier that gamma mutates pass through when they die, and it's the reason Hulk keeps coming back. Every single time Banner dies, he doesn't just regenerate. He passes through the Green Door, touches the bottom of existence, and gets sent back. His immortality is functionally tied to the One Below All's desire to use him. Let me say that again. Hulk lives because the dark side of God still needs him. The One Below All has zero personality, zero intelligence, zero motivation beyond one single impulse, become the only thing left. Total annihilation of everything that exists until only it remains. And it uses gamma mutates like Hulk as avatars to manifest that desire in the physical world. Banner isn't just carrying a monster inside him. He's carrying a piece of the multiverse's self-destruct button. This reframes everything about the character. Bruce Banner's suffering, his dissociative identity disorder, his endless cycle of destruction and guilt, all of it becomes tied to something metaphysical. His personal demons become literal demons of the multiverse's foundation. The rage isn't just trauma response, it's the echo of a cosmic entity that predates hell itself. The tension that makes this version so compelling is simple. Banner wants peace. The one below all wants annihilation. And Banner can never truly die, because every death just sends him back through the green door, back into the below place, back into the arms of something that has no thoughts, no feelings, and no purpose except ending all of reality. His immortality isn't heroic. It's a prison sentence issued by the dark half of God. And the worst part? The Hulk's strength, his rage, his ability to get angrier and stronger without limit, all of that is fueled by the same mutagenic gamma energy that the one below all generates. The madder Hulk gets, the more connected he becomes to the thing at the bottom. Every single time he powers up, he's opening that door a little wider. But if you think being the avatar of cosmic annihilation is the ceiling for Marvel characters, wait until you see what happens when Thanos decides that even being above the living tribunal isn't enough. Thanos, astral regulator. Thanos has always wanted to be God. That's not an exaggeration. That's literally his character arc across decades of comics. He starts by chasing the cosmic cube, a device that lets him reshape reality like clay. Then he graduates to the Infinity Gauntlet, which gives him dominion over an entire universe. But the astral regulator? That's the one where fans argue he actually surpassed God. And I mean the capital G, Marvel canon, supreme being of all existence God. Here's the thing. The astral regulator isn't just another powerful weapon. It's a device, or more accurately, a principle, that maintains and governs the structure of all reality. Every universe, every timeline, every layer of existence has rules that keep it functioning. The astral regulator is what enforces those rules, and Thanos gets his hands on it. The distinction matters. With the cosmic cube, Thanos can change what reality looks like. With the Infinity Gauntlet, he controls everything within a single universe. But with the astral regulator, he becomes the administrator of the multiverse itself. He's not playing the game anymore. He is the game. The server, the code, and the terms of service all at once. Fan communities have argued, loudly and repeatedly, that astral regulator Thanos is more powerful than both the One Above All and the Living Tribunal. The One Above All is Marvel's supreme creator deity. The Living Tribunal is the judge of all cosmic balance. And people are saying Thanos surpasses both, which is, a bold position to take. The evidence quality here is thin. Much of this discourse relies on interpretation of limited material and ongoing fan debate about Marvel's metaphysical hierarchy. Some panels suggest it, others are ambiguous. And the community has been arguing for years, with zero consensus in sight. I don't know what to tell you, but thematically, this is the perfect endpoint for Thanos. His entire character has always been about imposing his philosophy on everything that exists. Every artifact he's ever chased was just a stepping stone toward this. The astral regulator is the moment where his desire to dominate reality is fully realized at multiversal scale. He doesn't just want to kill half the universe anymore, he wants to be the universe. All of them, simultaneously. And that raises the real question. What happens when a nihilist achieves total authority over existence? In most interpretations, that kind of authority is inherently unstable. You achieve omnipotence and discover there's nothing left to want, nothing left to conquer. True omnipotence cancels itself out because the moment you have everything, everything becomes meaningless. The most powerful version of Thanos might also be the most hollow. This is the theoretical ceiling, not just of Thanos, but arguably of any Marvel character. We started this video with Iron Man building a suit to punch a digital god. We end it with Thanos becoming the architect of all existence, from a man in a garage to a titan rewriting the source code of reality. That's the full scale. Every step between was a qualitative leap in what power even means. And at the very top, staring down at everything below him, stands a purple nihilist who finally got exactly what he wanted. Whether that means anything at all is, fittingly, the one question even omnipotence can't answer. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.